You're seeing all these headlines about the AI boom, right? And you're probably thinking you need a boatload of cash or a computer science degree just to get a foot in the door. You see those fancy logos, ChatGPT, Midjourney, and all you see are dollar signs. But what if I told you that's not the whole story? What if there's a secret entrance to this gold rush? Yeah, let's get into it. Seriously, think about this for a second. Could you actually sell code? I mean, a working piece of software to a client without knowing how to write a single line yourself? It sounds crazy, right? Like, no way. But the answer is a huge, surprising yes. The truth is, this whole AI revolution, it's got a side door, and it is wide open for folks who aren't coders, for entrepreneurs, for freelancers, you name it. There's this one powerful technique that lets you deliver perfect working code and, yeah, get paid for it. It basically turns you into a tech problem solver, like overnight. Okay, so what is this big secret? Well, it all boils down to this one kind of hidden feature inside one of the most powerful AI models out there today. And trust me, this feature completely changes the game. So let's pull back the curtain. Okay, think about how most AIs write code. They're basically making a really educated guess, right? And that often leads to broken code, hallucinated code. Code execution is the total opposite of guessing. The AI writes the code, then it runs it in its own little secure sandbox to test it out. And get this, if it fails, it debugs itself. It fixes its own mistakes before you ever see it. So what you get in the end? Guaranteed 100% working code, every time. And this is what's so wild. It's incredibly simple to use. So you go into Google's AI Studio, you pick the Gemini 1.5 Pro model. Step 2, this is the magic part. You find that little code execution toggle, and you flip it on. That's it. Then you just give it a clear command, something like, hey, write a Python script that renames 500 of my files by date. And boom, it just hands you the finished working product. So this is the really crucial shift here. Your role completely changes. You are not the coder, you're not the engineer, you are the project manager. Your job is to listen to the client, understand their problem, and then just translate that into a clear instruction for your expert AI developer. The AI does all the heavy lifting. And this is where it gets real, right? This is where it turns into actual money. People are taking this exact workflow right now and setting up gigs on places like Upwork and Fiverr. They're selling services like, I'll fix your broken Python script, or I'll automate your data entry. And they're charging anywhere from $50 to $150 for a script that the AI literally just spit out in a few minutes. But look, this freelance hack, as cool as it is just the tip of the iceberg. It's really just a little peek into a much, much bigger professional trend that's changing how all software gets built. So let's zoom out and look at that bigger picture. So you've got two kinds of people here. On one hand, you have the no-code coder we've been talking about, who's using one powerful tool for one specific task. But on the other hand, you have the professional AI-assisted developer. Now, these folks aren't just using one tool. They've got a whole toolkit of AI assistants, and they're weaving AI into every single part of their work, from the first brainstorm to the final launch. Think of them as senior developers who've just been given superpowers. So what's actually in that professional toolkits? Come on, let's take a look inside the toolbox of a modern AI-powered developer. For the pros, the advantages here are just crystal clear. AI lets them build prototypes way faster, just to see if an idea even works. It makes debugging smarter by flagging errors as they're typing. It gives them better testing, automating all those repetitive checks, which makes the software way more reliable. And it streamlines the whole deployment process. It's all about one thing: working faster and making better stuff. And this slide really shows you how strategic it's all become. Professionals are using different AIs for different stages of a project. So in the early planning stage, they might use something like ChatGPT to help write up documents. When they get to the actual coding, GitHub Copilot is the absolute go-to for speeding things up. Then for testing and QA, quality assurance, Gemini is a beast. And finally, for deployment, tools like Snyk help keep an eye on the final product out in the wild. And this just drives home that point about specialization. It's not about finding one AI that does everything. GitHub Copilot, it's king when it comes to the act of writing and debugging code. Gemini's superpower is in that testing and quality assurance phase. And then a tool like Claude is amazing for thinking through really complex, tricky logic. A real pro developer is switching between these, using the right tool for the right job at exactly the right time. Okay, so we've seen the freelance angle, we've seen the professional workflow. So how do you actually take all this and, get hired? I mean, that's the bottom line, isn't it? How do you market yourself when it feels like everyone is starting to use these tools? Well, the answer is you don't hide it. You make it the main feature. So, according to Upwork, the key is to be really upfront about it. Tag your services under AI development. Put projects you completed with AI help right there in your portfolio. And in your proposals to clients, literally name the tools you're good with: ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot. The most important part is to frame it as a benefit to them. You're telling them, I can deliver better work faster because I know how to leverage these incredibly advanced tools. All right, so after all that, let's just boil this all down to the one core idea you should really walk away with. We started this with a pretty simple hack for non-coders to make some money, but we ended up looking at how AI is fundamentally changing professional, creative work itself, and it forces us to ask a much bigger question. Is AI just another tool in your toolbox, like a hammer or a spreadsheet? Or is it becoming something more, something like a new kind of partner, a technical and creative partner? I think that's the question that's going to define the future of work for all of us.
You ever wonder how big companies get that special edge? Well, they're shelling out big bucks for consultants to dig through their data. But today, we're talking about a new AI tool that lets anyone, and I mean anyone, do the exact same thing for small businesses, turning their messy data into cold, hard cash. Let's dive in.
Okay, so here's a problem that plagues almost every small business owner. Think about it. Your local gym, that coffee shop down the street, they're sitting on a mountain of data. We're talking sales logs, customer info, class schedules, all of it. But they don't have the time, the tools, or frankly, the budget to figure out what any of it means. They get this gut feeling that something's off, but they just can't see where the money is leaking out. So let's make this super real. Picture a local gym owner. She's got spreadsheets for days. Who's showing up to which class, membership payments, what's selling at the front desk. She knows her profits are shrinking, but trying to find why by staring at thousands of rows of data? Yeah, that's just a one-way ticket to a headache. She needs an expert, right?
Well, here's the wall they hit. Hiring a full-time data scientist is just not going to happen for most small businesses. I mean, that's a six-figure salary just to get answers from data they already own. It's that classic problem, right? You need money to hire the person who can help you find where your money's going.
Okay, but this is where it gets really, really cool. What if you could deliver that same kind of deep analysis, that big aha moment, without a fancy degree in data science? What if all it took was the right tool and asking the right question?
The absolute secret sauce to this whole thing is something called the context window. The easiest way to think about it is like the AI's short-term memory. It's how much information it can juggle and think about all at once. And for a long, long time, that memory was tiny. But oh boy, has that changed.
So to put it simply, the bigger the context window, the more dots the AI can connect. A small window, it might only be able to handle a few paragraphs at a time. But a massive window, it can read an entire book. Or, for our gym owner, it can read an entire year's worth of financial records, all in one go.
And this number, this is the one that changes the game. 1 million tokens. Now, a token is basically a piece of a word. So what we're really talking about is the AI being able to read and remember something like 750,000 words at the same time. That's the power of Google's Gemini 1.5 Pro. It means you can literally just drop in whole spreadsheets, huge data files, and the AI sees the entire picture, not just little pieces.
So how do we actually put this to work? Well, it's honestly so much simpler than you'd think. This is what we're calling the Instant Consultant Playbook. It's a dead simple process for turning this giant AI memory into a really profitable service.
The whole workflow is just easy. First, you get the data from the client. We're talking simple stuff like CSV files or PDFs. Then, you just upload those files straight into the AI. Step 3 is the real key. Use a very specific, role-playing prompt to tell the AI how to think. And finally, you take what it gives you, clean it up, and deliver it as a professional, super valuable report.
Now this prompt is the magic key. So you're not just asking a question, you're giving the AI a job. Act as a McKinsey senior partner. Right away, you're telling it to think like a top-tier business consultant, to focus on profit, on efficiency, on stuff that actually matters to the bottom line.
And just like that, for our gym owner, the AI finds the needle in the haystack. It chews through all the attendance data, the instructor costs, and boom, it spits out a crystal clear insight. The 10 a.m. yoga class on Tuesdays is a money pit. It's consistently half empty and losing money every single week. That's the leak, the one she could feel but could never find.
And this just lays out the economics perfectly. The whole process, uploading the data, running that one prompt, takes maybe 5 minutes, tops. And the output? A memo with a rock-solid, data-backed recommendation that's easily worth $500, maybe even more, to that business owner. You're not selling your time anymore. You're selling pure intelligence.
And this right here is the absolute bottom line. The gym owner doesn't care if you used a supercomputer or a magic 8-ball to find the answer. She's paying for the solution that saves her money, not for the fancy tool you use to get there. The value is 100% in the insight.
So of course, Gemini isn't the only game in town when it comes to data analysis. So to give you the full picture, let's just quickly see how this approach stacks up against some of the other options out there.
Really, the killer advantage of this huge context window is just raw flexibility. Traditional business dashboards, they're rigid. They only show you what you've already told them to look for. And yeah, other AIs like ChatGPT can analyze data, but Gemini's ability to swallow entire files whole lets you have a much deeper conversation with the data. You can go hunting for problems you didn't even know you should be looking for. Okay, now as incredible as this all sounds, we have to be real. This is not a magic wand. It's an unbelievably powerful tool, but like any tool, it has its limits. You've got to use it the right way and, with a healthy dose of common sense.
The number one thing to remember is that AIs can hallucinate. That means they can make stuff up that sounds totally plausible, but is just wrong. And that is why human oversight is absolutely 100% non-negotiable. You have to double-check the important stuff. Think of the AI as the world's fastest, smartest junior analyst. It's still your job as the senior consultant to check the work before it goes to the client.
So let's just end on this thought. This technology completely rewires the economics of getting business advice. If a nagging problem like a hidden profit leak can get solved this fast, just imagine all the other, more complicated challenges that are suddenly solvable, not by a whole team of analysts, but by one person who knows how to ask the right question. So, what are you going to ask first?
When most of us use AI, we're basically having a conversation with it, right? We're asking questions, we're brainstorming, we're getting ideas. And don't get me wrong, that's incredibly useful. But what if I told you that you're leaving the most powerful feature completely on the table? There's a whole other mode, one that's designed not just for talking, but for building real, valuable digital assets you can actually go out and sell.
And that right there is the fundamental shift in thinking we're talking about today. It really all comes down to understanding these two totally different ways of interacting with AI. See, almost everyone is stuck in chat mode, but the real magic, the real entrepreneurial power happens when you learn to use build mode.
So let's just break this down. Chat mode, that's all about exploration. It's the back and forth, the iterating, the conversation. Build mode, on the other hand, is pure creation. You give the AI one single, specific, purpose-driven command, and what it gives you back is a finished product, a single, clean file of functioning code that you can use right away. It's the difference between asking for a recipe and having the AI actually bake the cake for you.
And that cake we just talked about, well, that's where things get really interesting. This ability to build opens up an absolutely massive opportunity in something called Micro-SaaS. And this isn't about trying to build the next giant software company. Nope. This is about creating small, focused tools that solve very specific problems. So what exactly is a Micro-SaaS? Think of it like a tiny, single-purpose tool. It's a digital Swiss Army knife with only one blade, but it's the exact blade that a specific type of customer desperately needs. And businesses, they go crazy for these things because they act as powerful lead magnets. These are the useful little tools they put on their websites to capture the email addresses of potential customers. And once you start looking, you see these things everywhere. A mortgage broker could have a mortgage calculator on their site. A personal trainer could offer a calorie planner. A marketing agency could build an email subject line generator for their clients. See? Each tool solves a very specific problem for their ideal customer, which makes it an absolutely irresistible offer. Okay, so that all sounds great, but how do you actually make one of these? Let's forget the theory for a minute. This is the actual practical blueprint for building your very first digital asset starting right now.
And believe it or not, the process is genuinely this simple. First, you just pick a niche you understand. Let's use real estate agents as our example.
Second, you write a hyper-specific prompt that tells the AI exactly what to build. And third, you take the single self-contained HTML file that it spits out and you deliver it. That's it. That's the entire workflow.
Now this right here, this is the secret sauce. Just look at how specific this prompt is. It defines the exact tool, the target location, the inputs for the user, the calculation logic, even the visual style: clean, luxury, gold, and black. And crucially, it specifies the final output format. This is how you go from a fuzzy idea to a beautiful, functional tool in just a matter of minutes.
Okay, so you've built your awesome new digital asset. Now what? How do you actually turn this into cash? Well, there are two main, very effective paths you can take.
The first path is just the direct sale. It's clean, it's simple. You find a real estate agent, you show them this amazing closing cost calculator you built for them, and you sell them the ready-to-use file for a one-time fee, say $150. For them, it's a huge value add for their website. For you, it's a quick and easy payday.
The second strategy, this one's a little more clever. It's more of a long game. I call it the Trojan horse method. You actually give the calculator away for free. But, and this is the key, at the bottom, you add a small, discrete link that says powered by your agency. Now, every single person who uses that tool on that agent's website is a potential lead for your services. It becomes a marketing engine that works for you 24/7.
As cool as this is, I want you to understand that building one little calculator is just the first step. This whole idea is part of a much bigger shift that's happening right now in how we create things online, the no-code revolution.
No-code platforms are pretty much what they sound like. They let people with zero programming skills build and launch real, functional applications using simple drag-and-drop tools. It's basically democratizing the ability to create software for everyone.
And this is why it's such a game changer. Just look at the difference. Traditional development can take months, sometimes years, and cost a fortune hiring developers. But the no-code approach, especially when you supercharge it with AI, cuts that time down to days or weeks, and the cost to just a tiny fraction. This completely changes the rules of the game for entrepreneurs.
So that's the playbook. You've seen how to go from a simple chat to building a genuinely valuable digital asset, and you know the two best ways to make money from it. The only question left is the one you see right now. What's the first digital asset you're going to build?
Okay, so come on, lean in a little closer. I'm about to let you in on a secret that these AI image companies, they really don't want you to know. It's a simple little trick that's going to save you a bunch of money and, hey, maybe even make you some. Let's dive right in.
So, be honest. Are you still shelling out $20, maybe even more, every single month for something like Midjourney? You know the feeling, right? You try one of those free tools, you hit that stupid text-only model error, you get frustrated, and boom, out comes the credit card. I totally get it. But what if I told you you don't have to do that anymore?
Yeah, the secret has literally been hiding in plain sight this entire time. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly how to get unlimited, commercial-grade images completely for free. You ready for this?
Okay, so it all boils down to what I like to call the hidden model hack. It's a super simple bypass that takes that frustrating dead end and turns it into a non-stop creative engine.
You're not going to believe how simple this is. So you open up a tool like AI Studio, and you see that annoying text-only error, right? This is where most people just give up. But the secret is literally staring you in the face, right there in the top right corner. You see that little drop-down menu? All you have to do is switch the model to an older one like Imagen or Gemini Flash. And that's it. Just like that, you've unlocked the image generator. No cost, no limits. It's that easy.
All right, so now you can make free images. That's awesome for saving cash, but what about making cash? Let's talk about how this little trick opens up a massive opportunity. I'm talking about the YouTube thumbnail gold rush.
Just try to wrap your head around this number, 500. That's 500 hours of video being uploaded to YouTube, not every day, not every hour, but every single minute. And every single one of those videos needs one critical thing to stand a chance, a killer thumbnail. The demand is, well, it's basically infinite.
And here's the key thing to understand. You're not just selling a pretty picture. No. You are selling a better click-through rate, or CTR. For any YouTuber, CTR is everything. It's the lifeblood of their channel. A better thumbnail directly translates to more clicks, which means more views, which means more money. That's a service people will gladly pay for.
And this is where you get your superpower. Think about it. While a traditional designer on a site like Fiverr might take hours, maybe even days, you can pump out 4, 5, or more high-quality options in like 30 seconds. You can offer same-day delivery. Heck, you can offer same-hour delivery. You compete on speed. You compete on volume. You're selling the one thing every single creator on that platform needs, a better CTR right now.
Okay, but this isn't just some theory I cooked up. Let's look at some real proof from the trenches. We're going to check out a case study from someone who actually did this to see how it all plays out in the real world.
So, let me introduce you to Glibbetree. He started this whole thing with a really simple idea. In his own words, he's by no means an artist. He's not a trained graphic designer, doesn't have some amazing artistic talent. He just used AI tools to turn text into images for people.
And the results? Well, in just about 100 days with zero prior experience selling on Fiverr, he pulled in over $330. Now look, it's not $1 million, but it's powerful, tangible proof that a real market for this actually exists.
And check this out. His customers were more than just happy. They were thrilled. We're talking 25 different orders, and he got a 5-star review on every single one of them. That tells you something important. The people who need affordable art and need it fast were getting exactly what they paid for.
But okay, this brings up the elephant in the room, right? The big ethical question. Is it okay to sell AI art? Are you just taking jobs away from real artists? Glibbetree actually thought about this a lot, and he landed on a pretty smart and, I think, very reasonable way to handle it.
So here's how he did it. First and most important, he was 100% transparent. Right there in his profile, he stated that he used AI tools. No hiding it. Second, he priced his work really low. We're talking $5 to $15. His goal wasn't to compete with professional artists charging hundreds for a custom piece. He was targeting clients on a super tight budget. He was basically aiming to be a better, faster alternative to a cheap stock photo, not a replacement for a human artist.
So when you look at all this, you've really got two clear paths forward. You can start with the free hack we talked about, focusing purely on speed and volume for a market that needs it, like YouTube thumbnails. Or you can evolve that into the full Fiverr hustle, just like Glibbetree did, and start combining tools to offer a more polished, unique product for things like concept art.
You know, in the end, Glibbetree came to this really interesting conclusion. He realized he wasn't just making a few dollars on the side, he was actually feeling a real need. As he put it, there's a hunger out there for more beauty in the world, and he saw AI as a tool that was making that beauty more accessible to people who, couldn't afford it before.
And that really leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? Is this technology a threat? Is it going to make artists obsolete? Or is it just a tool that's democratizing creativity? A way of making beauty and art more accessible to absolutely everyone, no matter what their budget or skill level is. It's definitely something worth thinking about.
All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's, frankly, changing the entire game for small businesses. I want you to, just for a second, forget everything you think you know about getting your business online. Because we're not talking about those slow, expensive websites anymore. Oh no, we're talking about an instant digital presence.
You know that old idea, right? That if you want a decent website, you've got to shell out like $5,000 and then wait for months. Yeah, for so long, that was the reality. It felt like this necessary evil you had to deal with. But here's the thing. That way of thinking, it's not just old news. It's actually costing you money, costing you customers right now. So yeah, it is definitely time to rethink things.
Okay, to make this real, let's talk about a guy. We'll call him Mike. Mike the plumber. Now, Mike is fantastic at his job. I mean, best in town, no question. But online, he might as well be invisible. Poof, a ghost. And he knows it. He knows he's missing out on jobs every single day because he's not online. But man, the thought of building a website, it just feels like this giant, expensive, complicated headache he does not have time for.
So, yeah, what's really holding Mike back? It's a story we've heard a million times. Let's dig into what we'll call the old website problem.
Okay, look at this. This is the old way. A long, painful, winding road. We're talking weeks just for planning, more weeks for coding, then testing, bug fixing. It's a whole thing. And for a guy like Mike, every hour spent dealing with this mess is an hour he's not on a job site, not fixing a leaky pipe, and not, making money. It's a total distraction from his actual business.
But what if that whole painful process is just gone? What if there's a way that's way faster, way easier, and way, way cheaper? Well, there is. The game has totally changed, and it all starts with how we talk about it.
We have to stop selling websites. We're selling a digital presence. This right here, this is the key. On the left, you have the old pitch. Web design. It sounds complex, slow, expensive. It screams headache to a guy like Mike. But on the right, a digital presence. Simple, fast, a weekend setup. You see the difference? You're not selling Mike code or design hours. You're selling him a solution. You're selling him more phone calls, more jobs, and more money in his pocket. It's a business conversation, not a tech conversation.
So instead of talking about frameworks and servers, imagine saying this to Mike. Hey Mike, I'll have your new mobile-friendly site live by Monday morning. Full stop. Think about that. You're telling him that by the time he's drinking his coffee on Monday, his phone could be ringing with new customers. That's a promise he gets. That's a result. And that's exactly why this is a game changer.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. Live by Monday? How is that even possible? It sounds like magic, maybe a little like science fiction, but it's very real, and it's all thanks to AI. Let me show you just how fast we're talking.
It's literally a 3-step process. First, you just talk to it in plain English. You describe Mike's plumbing business. Step 2, you look at what it built, and you iterate. You say, hey, can you make the phone number bigger and maybe make it yellow so it pops? And then step 3, boom, that's it. You have a professional, production-ready website. No code, no designers, just a simple conversation.
And how long does that conversation take? Less than 3 minutes. Seriously, let that sink in. The 9-week nightmare we looked at earlier, it's now less time than it takes to brew a pot of coffee. Can you imagine sitting there with Mike, and before he even finishes his cup, you turn the screen around and say, here's your new website. The look on his face, that's everything.
All right, so what's the magic here? What's the engine making this incredible speed possible? Let's pop the hood and see what this AI is actually doing.
And look, this isn't just some small update or cool new feature. This is a fundamental shift. You don't have to take my word for it. You've got major leaders in tech, like Salesforce's CEO Mark Benioff, saying this might be the most important technology of any lifetime. So yeah, this is a really, really big deal.
So what does the AI actually do? Well, for starters, it's your professional designer. It instantly knows your brand colors. It follows all the modern rules for user experience. It makes sure everything looks amazing on a phone. It's basically doing the job of an entire expensive design agency automatically. But it's not just about looking pretty, right? A website has to work. It has to bring in business. And that's the next part. The AI is also your marketing strategist. It writes headlines that actually get people to click. It knows exactly where to put the Call Now button. It even optimizes the text so you show up higher on Google. It's building a sales tool, not just a brochure. And then there's all that techie stuff in the background that nobody wants to deal with. Well, guess what? The AI is your technical team too. It writes clean, fast code. It makes sure the site loads instantly. It's basically your own little team of IT experts working 24/7 to keep everything running perfectly. For a business owner like Mike, that's a huge weight off his shoulders. Okay, so let's bring it all together. What does this mean for your business right now in 2025? This is all about your new competitive edge. I mean, just look at this comparison. It's not even close. The old way cost thousands and took months. The AI way is a low monthly fee and it's done in minutes. The old way required you to hire developers and designers. The new way, it just needs you and your knowledge of your own business. We're going from a static web page to a dynamic sales tool. It's a total transformation.
What this really means is that the playing field is finally level. Your local plumber, your neighborhood bakery, they can now have an online presence that's just as good, if not better, than some giant national chain. It's no longer about who has the deepest pockets for a web team. It's about who's actually the best at what they do. And that's a game where the Mikes of the world can absolutely win.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most important question. If anyone can now have an amazing, professional website in just a few minutes, what's left to compete on? What actually makes a business stand out? And the answer is simple. It's you. It's your expertise, your service, your craft. The technology just gets you in the game. Your quality is what lets you win it. You've been there, right? You've used an AI to write something, you ask it for something amazing, and what you get back is, well, it's just bland, robotic text. So today, we're going to dive into a really powerful and honestly, super overlooked technique to fix that for good. It's just a feeling you get, isn't it? You generate a post, maybe an email, and it just feels off. It doesn't have your personality, your little quirks.
It's missing you. And, there's a really good reason for that. Oh yeah, we've all seen this stuff. The corporate fluff, that totally robotic tone. And the words, I swear, if I see delve or unleash one more time, I'm gonna lose it. This is exactly why the output misses any kind of personal style, and it's why high-paying clients just can't stand generic AI. But what if you could just bypass all of that?
All right, this is where we get into what I like to call AI God mode. See, there's this one feature, hiding in plain sight, that almost nobody ever touches, and it is the absolute key to making an AI your perfect digital twin.
That's right. We spend all our time trying to write the perfect one-off prompt in the main chat box. But the real power? It's somewhere else entirely. It's in the system instructions, or sometimes it's called custom instructions settings.
So think about it like this. A normal chat prompt is a one-time thing. It's a disposable instruction, kind of like giving someone directions to the grocery store. But system instructions, they create the AI's permanent personality. You're not just giving it directions for one trip. You're teaching it a whole new language, your language.
And this whole idea of a permanent personality, well, that's the foundation for what we're going to call the digital mirror technique. It's a really simple, totally actionable strategy to make an AI a perfect reflection of any writing style you want. And seriously, it's this simple. Step 1, capture. You just find about 5 solid examples of the person's best writing. Could be LinkedIn posts, emails, whatever really captures their voice. Step 2, instruct. You copy and paste that text directly into the system instructions box. And finally, step 3, command. You give it this very specific prompt. Analyze the syntax, sentence length, slang, and emotional tone of this text. You are now this person. Never break character. Trust me, that last part is absolutely crucial. But here's the thing you have to remember. This technique, it's not just about the tech. As one person on Reddit put it so well, the AI is only as good as what you give it. If you don't have total clarity on your own brand, your own voice, the AI has absolutely nothing authentic to mirror. It's that classic garbage in, garbage out situation. And you can go even deeper to really nail that last 20% of authenticity. You can feed it way more context. Things like, what are your core values and goals? Who exactly is your target audience? You can even set rules for structure and, my personal favorite, create a ban list of all those forbidden AI filler words we've come to hate. Okay, so this is a seriously powerful technique, but how do you actually turn it into a high-value service? Let's talk about the business model behind this skill.
Let's start with this number, $1,500. That's a pretty typical monthly retainer for a high-quality, AI-assisted ghostwriting service that uses this exact method.
So here's the breakdown. The service itself is simple. You provide 3 high-quality, totally authentic LinkedIn posts per week for a client. The price, $1,500 a month. And your time cost, once you've set up their digital mirror, it's about 1 hour per month. The return on investment here is just astronomical. And that brings us to the most important idea in this entire explainer. When a client pays that kind of money, what are they actually buying? Let's just be crystal clear about this. Nobody is paying you to just push a button on an AI. I mean, they could do that themselves and get the same generic junk we talked about at the beginning. What they're really paying for is the strategy behind the prompt. They're paying for an authentic voice that perfectly mirrors their own and for it to be delivered with consistency and at scale. See, you're not selling words, you're selling a scalable brand identity.
So to wrap this all up, I want to leave you with this one question. This technology, it's a mirror. It's just waiting there to reflect whatever it's shown. The only real question is, how clearly have you defined the voice and the values that you want it to reflect? What reflection are you going to show it?
They breathe, they pause for effect, and they can even whisper. Okay, so listen to that voice you just heard. It has inflection, it's got character. I mean, it sounds completely and totally human. But what if I told you that was generated by a machine? Just by typing some texts into a box. We're in the middle of this huge shift in text-to-speech technology. We're moving away from those clunky digital voices we all know and love to hate to something you just heard. That gap between human and AI, it is closing, and it is closing fast. For years, if you were a creator, you basically had 2 choices for audio. On one hand, you had that old school text-to-speech that sounded, robotic. It was a dead giveaway. On the other hand, you had professional human actors, which is amazing for quality, but wow, is it expensive, and it can take days just to get your audio back. But now, there's this new way emerging that kind of gives you the best of both worlds, that human-like quality, but at the speed and cost of software. But hey, don't just take my word for it. Let's actually see, or I guess hear, what this tech can really do. So we used a tool with a multi-speaker feature to whip up a quick little radio ad for a totally fake coffee shop called The Daily Bean. Every single voice you're about to hear is 100% AI.
Okay, so here's the first line from our AI announcer. Just listen to that casual, slightly questioning tone. It's not just reading words off a page, it's actually performing the line.
And here's where it gets really, really cool. The AI can be told to change its delivery for emotional effect, like whispering. Listen to how our AI customer delivers this next line. It's so intimate, it's relatable, it's a perfect example of just how nuanced these voices can get. And the announcer closes it out. What we just heard was a totally seamless two-speaker conversation created in a matter of minutes, just by typing out a script. This is an absolute game changer for creating things like ads, podcasts, or audiobooks. So, that was the what. Now, let's get into the how. What in the world is the engine driving this incredible leap in quality? Well, the answer lies in a very specific type of artificial intelligence. The core tech is called neural speech synthesis. Now, instead of just kind of crudely stitching sounds together, this method uses deep machine learning to study everything about how we talk, our pacing, our pauses, our intonation. It's not just mimicking speech, it's learning the actual patterns of speech to generate something totally new and incredibly natural sounding. So what's the secret sauce here? Well, first, it achieves what's called human prosody. That's just the fancy term for the rhythm and flow of natural speech. The AI is also content-aware, which means it actually understands the script's context to deliver the lines way more effectively. And like we heard, it breathes and pauses for effect, it supports multi-speaker dialogue, and it has these amazing special features like that whisper from our little ad. All of these things come together to create that realism. Okay, the tech is awesome, but why does this actually matter to you? Well, if you're a creator, a small business, or really anyone making content, this isn't just a fun novelty. It's a seriously powerful new toolkit that can fundamentally change your entire production workflow. I mean, just think about the workflow. With a traditional voice actor, you might be waiting days for your audio. With AI, you get it in minutes. Need to tweak one little line in the script? With an actor, that's a whole other session, another invoice. Here, you just change the text and hit generate again. The entire process goes from this complex hiring dance to just typing. And the cost? That might be the biggest disruptor of all. This quote, which comes from an internal strategy memo about this exact technology, puts it perfectly. Professional audio has always had this high barrier to entry. So many small businesses would love to run an ad on a platform like Spotify, but are just stopped cold by that $500 price tag for professional voiceover. This tech just completely shatters that barrier. So, the bottom line is this. That $500 ad can now be produced for something closer to $50. That is a 90% cost reduction. It opens up professional-grade marketing and content creation to a whole new world of people who were, frankly, just priced out before. So, when you put it all together, this new generation of AI voices is really like a creative superpower. It's flexible, letting you make edits and try new things on the fly. It's fast, turning days of waiting into minutes of creating. It's affordable, making high-quality audio accessible to everyone. And it's just so simple. If you can type, you can now create a professional voiceover. Look, this technology isn't some futuristic concept anymore. It's a real, practical tool that's available to use right now. From podcasts and ads to training videos and audiobooks, the potential is just massive. So it really just leaves one question for all the creators out there. Now that you have this in your toolkit, what will you create?